It's Friday, January 28th, 2022, and this is the Washington Times front page. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. Top Biden administration officials say they're holding out hope that Russian President Vladimir Putin will embrace a legacy of peace and end a long-running military standoff along the Ukrainian border. Ben Wolfgang lays out the latest details in the crisis. President Biden spoke again by phone with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a day after the U.S. and NATO delivered their replies to the Kremlin's demands. Zelensky said in a Twitter post that he and Biden had a long conversation about efforts to de-escalate the crisis and U.S. military and financial support for Ukraine. The U.S. and NATO this week formally rejected Russian demands that the alliance halt expansion, rule out Ukraine as a possible member, and limit military exercises and weapons deployments in former Soviet republics. With more than 100,000 Russian troops poised to invade Ukraine if given the order, Putin is reviewing the American response to his demands. The Russian president will be the sole decision-maker on whether Russia pursues a fresh round of diplomacy with the U.S. and Europe or mounts an attack on Ukraine. President Biden has a chance to reboot his presidency by nominating a black woman to the Supreme Court, giving him a chance to make up for unfulfilled promises dealing with racial justice. Seth MacLachlan reports the patience of civil rights activists has been wearing thin after the president's push to overhaul the criminal justice system and rework federal election laws flamed out on Capitol Hill. Biden has tried to deliver change through the Department of Justice, which has banned police chokeholds, restricted no-knock warrants, stopped using private prisons, and opened investigations into police misconduct in 4 different cities. Homicides jumped by nearly 30% in 2020 compared with 2019, according to the FBI, and a report released this week shows that the trend worsened last year. Emily Zanto reports the Council on Criminal Justice report shows the number of homicides in 22 major cities, including Chicago, Milwaukee, and Washington, D.C., was 5% higher last year than in 2020 and 44% higher than in 2019. The nonpartisan Washington-based think tank noted in the report that the homicide numbers are significantly lower than the nationwide historical peaks of the 1990s. D.C. saw a 16% increase in homicides last year, from 191 to 221. A reminder that you can find all these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. If you don't have access to the Times yet, you can visit WashingtonTimes.com/George for a special subscription offer. The Republican National Committee is trying to forge inroads with Black, Hispanic, and Asian Americans through a network of community centers across the country. The party has opened 20 centers in several swing states and plans to open more in the run-up to the midterm elections this November, Mika Selner reports. The community centers host movie nights, parties, prayer vigils, and toy and food drives during the holiday season. The RNC's investment in the effort aims to build on the party's recent gains with voting blocs that traditionally back Democrats. A Democratic National Committee aide dismissed these centers as more optics than an earnest attempt to connect with a diverse set of voters. Stephen Dinan takes a look at where resettlement efforts for Afghanistan refugees stand now. Fort McCoy in Wisconsin is one of 8 military bases in the United States where the Biden administration transported some 76,000 evacuees after the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from the country in August. As of this week, more than 66,000 had been processed and resettled in communities. The remaining 9,000 or so are at 3 bases, Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst in New Jersey and Fort Pickett in Virginia, in addition to Fort McCoy. Camps at 5 locations were shut down after all of the Afghans there were processed: Fort Bliss, Texas, Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico, Camp Atterbury in Indiana, and Quantico Marine Corps Base and Fort Lee in Virginia. And finally, Joshua Young quit his job as a Colorado corrections officer last year after undergoing diversity training that he says branded him a racist. Valerie Richardson reports Young, who is white, is now suing the Colorado Department of Corrections for creating a hostile work environment, arguing that the training made a difficult, racially charged job even more so. The lawsuit, filed January 19th, seeks an order preventing the state from using racially discriminatory training materials while reinstating Young and awarding him back pay. The Colorado Attorney General's Office and State Corrections Department did not respond to requests for comment. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us on your favorite podcast platforms just by searching Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.